Alright, this part five of it. This part five. This is part five of what if Deku was betrayed by UA, and we left off at where Izuku he just got through the portal. I think I said in the last video that he has this phobia. Well, I didn't say this. He has this phobia. Well, we've seen it before. It's where if someone touches Deku, he has the urge to kill him, and he has this phobia again because he was tortured there for pretty much a year. And if you hear something in the background, I'm sorry. But yeah, so after they walked through the portal, they laid Deku down, and Deku, we're gonna say that the doctor drugged Deku before they took him in. He was gonna go put some more experiments on him. And Kirk, when they walked through the portal, the doctor came in and seen Deku was gone. And as they set Deku down on the couch, I'm gonna say, Mina, Momo, Toga, and Nejire, they all start crying and they all say, "My Izukun, what did they do to you?" And Deku, he doesn't trust anyone, but he doesn't trust anyone but his girlfriend. Not even he doesn't trust Shigaraki or Kurger, because he thinks that they. Well, no. And he wakes up. I'm gonna say a week time skip, and he wakes up and he says, "Where am I?" And a private doctor that Shigaraki hired says, "You're okay now," and he says, "I'm gonna run some tests on you." And Deku, he basically, if you play Black Ops 1, Mason, how he gets those numbers in his head, that's basically what Deku does. He says, "Yeah, numbers," and then he sees the numbers, and he thinks back to the like to the stone or iron, to the iron chair he was sitting in, or block he was strapped on, and he thinks back to that, and the doctor touches him, and Deku, he pushes him back with his telekinesis quirk, and then he manipulates the wind square and wind blade. He's about to kill this doctor for touching him because he has this phobia, and Shigaraki told the doctor, but he thought the doctor is thinking that it's not that serious, and oh, he won't kill me, I'm a doctor. And Deku, he telekinesis pushes him to the wall, gets his sword, and he's about to kill this doctor until Momo comes in and says, "Izu, stop." He says, she says, my Izu, he says, Izu kun, stop. And Deku, he lets go. He still has the doctor pushed to the wall, and he drops the one blade. Like, he doesn't drop it, he deforms it and back into wind. And, or I should say air blade, not wind. So it goes back into the air, and he goes to Momo and he says, "Mama, I'm sorry that I missed out on a year of my kid's life and your life." And he says, he picks her up and he kisses her. And Toga walks in there, and she hugs, and she hugs, she goes to Deku and she hugs him. And she says, "Izu-kun, why did they do this to you?" And, well, she doesn't say that. She says, "Izu-kun, I'm so happy you're back." And then, Mina and Nejire, they heard this and they ran. They ran to the living room where Deku was, and the doctor, he's still pressed down. He's hardly breathing. And Momo says, "Deku, drop him," or Izu can drop him. And Izuku, he says no, and he says, so Mama says, "Why?" And he says, "Because he laid his hand on me." And she thinks back and she says, "You still have that you have that phobia back, don't you?" And he looks at him and says, yeah, it's not my fault. And as he says this, the doctor, he says, please, I won't touch you again, please. And then he passes out of air loss, I guess. And Deku drops him, and his body just starts shaking. Well, not shaking, but it's moving up and down from, like, rapidly up and down, gasping for air. And his legs finally has air. And Mina and the Jiraiya come and they hug him, and they say, and Deku says, "Oh, where's my son? Where's my kids?" And then we're gonna say that the little boy he knows what happened to Izuku, but he doesn't know. He knows that Izuku was taken, but he doesn't know that Izuku was tortured and experimented on. So basically, what happened was, after Izuku got tortured, after he said, can I see my kids? And he goes in the room and says they're sleeping, and he picks Izumo up. I haven't given the other one's name. He picks Izumo up and says, how's it going? And Izumo starts crying and says, Dad, you're home. And I think Izumo, he's probably 2. I'm gonna say he's 3 years old. I think I'm gonna say that. And we get to his crying wakes up all the other kids, and they say, who's that man? And he smiles and says, I'm your dad. And well, he didn't say that. They wake up, other babies, they wake up and they start crying. And when they start crying, Izumo, he says, Dad, you gotta calm them down. And he says, okay. He puts Izumo down, and Izumo, he's still crying from, I think, his dad after a whole year. And he picks up, I'm gonna say, Mizu. That's gonna be Mina and Deku's. That's Mina and Deku. And Togu and Izuku is Togu has a girl, and her name is gonna be Tommy. Not Tommy. Tommy. Timmy. I really don't know a good name for her. I'm gonna just give her the name. I'm gonna just give her a random name, because I like to make their names a combination of both of their names. So I'm gonna say Tozu. Yeah, Tozu. And Tozuma. Yeah, Tozuma. Mizu and Izumo. Tozuma and Mizu, they're both crying, and Deku picks them up and says, it's okay. Daddy's home. And he still has scars. He has scars on his body. His shirt is ripped, and he has no shirt on. And and we're gonna say Izumo, he sees Deku's abs, and he wants to get down to touch Deku's abs, and Deku smiles and says, Deku just smiles, and he puts him back in the crib, and Mizu, he tries to get back out to touch Deku's abs, and he's gonna be Izumo. He's basically gonna be, he wants to get strong like Deku, like his body built, and I forgot her name. Tozama. I'm gonna tell her Tozimu. Yeah, Tozimu. She, as soon as she sees Deku's face, she starts crying. And we're gonna say Izumo, she got some traits from Toga, and she says, Papa. And we're not gonna get into her traits yet, but she says Papa. And after she says this, Deku smiles and says, "Yeah, I'm your papa." And then she smiles and she stops crying. And Izumo, he's not crying anymore, and he's actually smiling from seeing his brother and sister getting reunited with their dad, and he's actually smiling. So after that, Deku say, "How long was I out?" And because he doesn't know he was out for a year, and they say you were gone for a year, and he says, "Oh," and then he says, "When you brought me," he says, "How did I get here?" And they told him the story of how he got here, how Kurogiri just started warping and stuff, and he goes to Kurogiri and Shigaraki, and he say, and Shigaraki says, "I don't know why we left you, man. I'm sorry." And Kurogiri says, "Yeah, me too." And Izuku says, "No, it's no problem." He says, "No, it's no problem. I know you had to." And Shigaraki, a tear falls down Shigaraki's eye. And Shigaraki, he says, "We should have never left you. Look at you. You're more beaten up than you were than All Might then All Might beat you and toss you outside." And then after that, Deku, he looks down and says, "Yeah." And he says, talking about All Might, where is he? Because we're gonna say All Might and some UA heroes were in this. Like, they were a part of this captured mission. And he smirks and says, "Where is All Might?" And Shigaraki and Kurogiri look at each other and they say, he's at UAY. And Deku says, "Thank you for not killing him." And Shigaraki says, "Why? We were just on our way after we just got done from rescuing you." And Deku says, "Well, I want to handle some personal business with him." And Shigaraki says, "Was he the one who captured you? Or did he take part in the torturing?" And Deku says, "Yeah, he actually did." The number one hero. And this is why Deku is gonna be turn like Stain. He kills, or no, he's not. Basically, he tells his wife, I'm gonna say their wife, they're his wives now. He tells his wives and Shigaraki and Kurogiri that he's gonna leave, and he tells his sons and his daughter goodbye. And he told his daughter, no. As he leaves the house, he has a hoodie on, and when he has this hoodie on, he just walking to UA, and he sees. Oh, should I make May? No. And he sees there's, like, UA is totally transformed within this year. Like, there's a new security system, new gates, like reinforced gates, or steel walls, metal and steel walls. And Deku says, "They really don't know I'm out." And we're gonna say the doctor, he's on his way to UA trying to tell All Might that our subject has escaped. And as Deku he manipulates the iron. I'm gonna say it was just the iron wall. or he manipulates the iron wall or steel, the steel wall, and he makes a door, and he says, well, because I'll just walk in. And we want to say that All Might was in a class teaching. I'm going to say that Dr. X, the doctor that tortured Deku, he gave All Might some healing serum, and it healed his wound. So now All Might, he's in his prime. And Deku, he doesn't know about this. And Izuku, he walks in UA, and he says, an alarm go off, and the unauthorized access. It says, not school lockdown. This is lockdown mode activated. As a lockdown, the whole school, and it put metal barriers around it. And when they put the metal barriers around it, Izuku, he said, they really don't learn, do they? And Izuku, he's just manipulating. He's going straight, and he's manipulating all the walls. And every room he comes through, he kills every student there. And he says, this is what you get, All Might, for betraying me. When I did nothing. And he walks every room, he slaughters. To the next room, he slaughters them. And to the next room, he slaughters them. And when I say May is one of these classrooms, and she's getting bullied, and Deku, he manipulates the wall. I'm gonna say that Deku made his way to the whatever May is, technology course or whatever she is, and he manipulates the wall, and he basically sees May getting picked on and bullied by two guys with quirks. And I'm gonna say that I'm not sure if May has a quirk or not. I'm just gonna say she doesn't have a quirk. Oh, she has a quirk, but it's not useful. We're gonna say it gives her super smarts and a genius quirk. And they're pushing man. They said, look at Doofus brain. And the other bully laugh says, yeah, she's a doofus. And they punch May. And Izuku, he's just watching, and May sees Izuku, and she says in her head, Izuku kind of at you. And then Deku, he's just steady watching, and they're about to kick May. They're about to punch May again, and Izuku says, I'm sorry, I can't let that happen. And he builds a wall of compressed air. And as he builds his wall of compressed air, he punches, and it's just like Bakugo when he uses his explosion. It was basically a shock or a drawback, and it broke it jammed the boy's fingers. And he says, yeah, you're gonna pay for that. I want to say one of them has a hardening quirk, and the other one has ace. He can shoot Kamehamehas out of his hands. And he says, like icing off of unordinary. And we're gonna say that Ison, Arlo. Sorry, not Arlo. Sorry. I'm so sorry. We're gonna say that Issei, the boy with the rock quirk, he like rocks himself up. Like, you know how Kirishima, he has that quirk where he can rock up and stuff. He basically has that. So he rocks up and he says, "You're gonna pay for that." And he tries to hit Deku, and he hits Deku with a bare fist, and he says, "This is profanity." He said, "What the hell happened to my quirk?" And Deku says, "I took it." And I see grins, and he he chokes. He basically uses the same quirk. I want to say that every quirk that Deku takes, he can evolve it. Like he can level it up to its max. And we say that Deku he activates this quirk, and instead of just him rocking hard, he can create things from his hand, from his hardening quirk. And Kirishima, Izuku, and and when what's his name, when the bully punches, after he punches Deku and he says, "What's my quirk?" Deku, he choke slams him and says, "There it is," and he gives him back his quirk while he choke slamming him, and he feels weaker now. He says, "What did you do?" And he activates his quirk. Well, he just got pounded to the ground, so of course he could be weaker. He says, "Where's my?" He says, "You gotta pay for that." And he says, "Ah!" And he tries to punch Deku, and Deku, when I say Deku, he manipulates the air in that room, and he stops. I want to say he he manipulates the earth under him, and he brings him underground and said, "I had enough of you." And basically that dude, he just suffocating. And he said, "You're next." As he looked at the dude that could form Kamehamehas at his hands. And he said, "Cha!" And as he said, "Laser beam, go!" And he shot a laser beam from his hands. And Izuku, he just, if you ever watch Anime War and Goku did a Kamehameha on Saitama, basically what happened was, he did the laser beam, and Deku smiled and he said, "Thank you." And he said, and he didn't say anything. He said, "Yes, please kill me." And they shocked the other man. They shocked the double bully, and he tried to draw it back. He says, "Wait, no." And then Deku, he says, "It's too weak." And he slaps it away. And he says, "Just joking. I still need to live with my kids." And he gets his gun out and he shoots him in the head. And after he shoots him in the head, he goes to Mei and says, "Hey, are you alright?" When I say Mei doesn't know Deku. He says, but Deku doesn't know Mei, but Mei knows Deku. And he says, "Hey, are you alright?" And she says, "Yeah, Izuku-kun." And then Deku says, he points his gun at her, says, "How do you know my name?" And she gets scared and she says, "We were in the same class together." And he draws his gun back. And Mei asks, could he come with her? Could she come with him? She says, "Izuku-kun, can I come with you?" And he says, "Yeah, fine. I don't really care." And as he just goes in the room slaughtering everyone, he gets the class 1A. And as he gets the class 1A, basically what he does is he kicks open the door and he says, "All Might, I'm back." And All Might looks in shock and said, "What? That's impossible. We tortured you to a bloody pulp. You shouldn't be able to walk." And Izuku said, "Yeah, well, I have many quirks. I have a lot of new quirks. I need to test that on you." And they're surprised of that the number one hero said that he experimented on him. And one of the kids say, "You experimented on him? That's just dead out wrong." And then and Izuku looks at him and says, "I know it is wrong, right?" And he says, "Yeah, there should be no reason that you have to get tortured or anything like that." And we're gonna say this book home. Deku likes this boy and says, "Yeah, there isn't," and he kills everyone in the classroom besides that boy, and and besides that boy and Izuku. I mean, and All Might and May, and All Might says, All Might says, or not All Might. Yeah, All Might says, "What did you do?" And he says, "You villain." And in Deku, he got angry. "I'm a villain." And he said the only reason I'm like this is because you tortured me for a whole year, and you betrayed me, All Might. You and UA, you betrayed me. So I'm gonna tell you this now. And Izuku says, "Every time you get a batch of students, I'll come and kill them." And he says, "But I'll only leave one for the message." And he says, "But it's not gonna be you." And as he rushes All Might with his gun, and he shoots All Might where his wound supposedly was. And All Might doesn't flinch. And Deku, he says, "Oh, I guess that got wound healed, huh?" And All Might didn't say anything, and he scoffs and said, "You're gonna pay for that, kid." And All Might, he rushes at Deku, and then when he rushes at Deku, the other kid, I'm gonna say he can like freeze people like Jasper. He in high school DxD, he freezes people with his eyes, or like Aizawa, he can freeze people, but if he blinks, then they stop moving or they start moving again. And basically what happened is that that he freezes All Might, and he says, "I'm sorry, I can't let you hit him." And Izuku, he looks at this boy and he says, "You deserve more power than that." And Izuku gives him 2 quirks, and he says, I gave you 2 quirks. Figure them out on your own and learn to control them." And he basically gave him a quirk where you could, a healing quirk, no, a lasting quirk, so he could keep his eyes open longer, and no, energy quirk, so he could keep his eyes open longer, and he gives him another quirk, in addition to, I want to say it's an add-on of the other quirk, or the quirk that he originally has. And he says, Deku says, "I gave you a regeneration or a resistance quirk, and I gave you a add-on to that little quirk you have there." And he says, every time you blink, your opponent, let's say he loses his life slowly. And as he says, "Yeah, that's cool." He says, "Yo, that's cool." And Izuku, he goes to All Might and he looks at the boy and says, "Thank you." And he gets his gun and he shoots it. He points it at All Might and he says, "All Might, why shouldn't I kill you here?" And All Might, he's about to speak, and Deku says, "I should kill you, shouldn't I?" Well, he doesn't say anything. He says, "You didn't give me a chance to talk, so I won't give you a chance to talk." And All Might says, "Wait." And then before he could say wait, Izuku blows his brains out. And Izuku, he comes back home, or he goes home with Mei and the boy. And the boy thinks of Deku as, I want to say the boy had a rough childhood because his eyes, they were slit like, and everyone bullied him for it. And since there was and his mother didn't disowned him, and so did his father. So Izuku says, "Go to your mother and father." And he looked down and says, "I don't have one." Or he looked Deku straight in the eyes and says, "I don't have one." And Izuku said, he said, "Fine, come with me." And as they walk to Izuku's house, he opens the door. He opens the door and he sees he sees Momo. No, he sees Nejire. He sees all his wives running towards him and say, "Izu, you're back." And it's Mei. She says, "Who are all these girls?" And Mei and Izuku says, "They're my wives." And then we see Izumo run out the room and say, "Dad, you're home. Fight me." And he says he picks Izumo up by one hand, and he says, "You're gonna have to get." He says, "I'm way too strong for you," or "You're way too strong for me, little guy. You'll whoop me in an instant." As he's trying to give his son confidence, and his son says, "Yeah, last time I whooped you." And Izuku chuckles and says, "Yeah, you did." And Momo smiles and says, "You're a great father." And she kisses him, and Izuku blushes and says, "Thanks." And basically after that, sorry for hearing in the background. And so we see Momo and Mina says, who are those girls? Who is that girl? And who's that boy? And Deku says, "Oh, this is Mei." And Mei smiles and says, "Hi." And he says, "This is my acquaintance." And he said, the little boy, the boy says, he says, "Why can't I be your son?" He said, and Izuku looks at him and says, "'Cause I already have one." He says, "'Cause I already have some kids." And the boy says, "Oh, okay, I guess he says, "Okay, I guess I'll just be your acquaintance." And he looks down, and Deku goes, and he pats his head, and he says, "I guess you can be my son." And he hugs him and says, "Dad, thank you." And he's shocked by this, because he's like, "You just met me, and you're already calling me dad." And basically, after that, Izuku, he basically, he plays with Izumo, and Izumo says, "I'm gonna win." Or Deku says, "I'm gonna win this time." And Izumo says, "No, I am." And as Deku, I want to say Izumo, he got the manipulation quirk from Deku. They all did, all three of his children. And he said, "No, I am." And he manipulates a sword, and he goes to Deku, and Deku, he manipulates a little sword. He says, "What? All I can manipulate is this little thing?" And he softly attacks Izumo, and Izumo blocks it. And he says, "I know you're stronger than that." And he pops, he slices Deku's hand, and Izuku says, "Oh, you're really not playing." He says, "Let me go full power." And as he says, "Let me go full power," Izumo, he got scared because he's never seen his dad full power. And his blade, his blade grows 2 inches. He says, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about." And Izumo, he laughs and says, "Ha, that thing's gonna stop me? This is your full power? And Izuku says, he looks at her and says, yeah, it is. And Izumo says, well, I'm gonna defeat you. And he says, yeah. And he slices Deku. Like, you don't say he made it dull so it wouldn't hurt Izuku. Instead of Deku. He met the airblade and he said, he sliced Deku down on his knee. And Deku, he said, man, that really hurt. Acting like it hurt. He said, Cha. And he started breathing heavily. And Izumo, he says, take that. You lost. And Izuku says, yeah, like I said, you're too strong for me. And Izuku, he says, and Izumo says, yeah, I know. He says, you need to get stronger, Dad. Let me train you. And Izuku laughs. He chuckles and says, no. I already have your mothers for that. Or no, he doesn't say that. He says Shigaraki and Kirigiri trained me enough. And he says, oh, okay. And he says, can I go? He says, Deku says, go lay down or go. He says, alright, see you later. And Izuku says, I'll be right back, son. And his son says, oh, okay. And he plays his game. And I want to say that Deku, he goes in the room and he sees Momo. No. He doesn't know that Toga is taking a shower. And he walks in. Say he walks in naked. And he doesn't know that Toga's taking a shower. He 18 plus scene. And when he opens the door, he sees Toga. He sees Toga, everything. Okay, and after he sees Toga looks out. He says, who's that? And she thinks it's Izumo wanted to take a shower with her. Or Izumo wanted to take a shower with her. And he says, Izumo, you can come take a shower with me. And Deku, he chuckles and says, this is my perfect chance. And he steps in. And Toga sees a manly shadow over her. And she turns around quickly. She sees Izuku. She looks down. And she sees his Glazer Lang. And basically, she gets find the proper word for this. Her hormones activate. And Izuku's hormones activate too. And as their hormones activate, Izuku says, I guess I'll shower with you. And Toga says, I thought you were Izumo. And he says, but I'm not. And he starts tongue kissing Izu or Toga. He starts tongue kissing Toga. And then he basically what happened is he sticks it in and she moans loudly. And he's like, what is that sound? And he walks to the shower. He opens the door and says, Dad, Mom, are you okay? I heard a strange sound coming from over here. And Deku says, yeah, as he goes faster and faster. He says, yeah, me and your mom, she was just taking a shower together. And Izumo says, ew, you're nasty. He says, how am I not? He says, son, I'm just trying to take my shower with your mom. And he says, oh, okay, nasties. As he whispers under his breath, and he closes the door. And sorry, I didn't even know it was on the screen. As he closes the door, we go back to the shower scene, and And Deku says, I'm about to ejaculate. And she says, no, not yet. And he ejaculates. And she falls down, twitching. And Izuku picks her back up and puts her on the wall, like puts her back on the wall. And she basically wraps her legs around Izuku and her arms, and they just start going at it again. And he ejaculates again. And after he ejaculates again, basically what happened was he ejaculated. After he ejaculated, basically she ejaculated with him, and she moaned, and she said she started cutting on the floor. She was just covered in white, sticky stuff, and she said, "My insides feel so warm." And Izuku says, he picks her up and he starts tongue kissing her. And after he tongue kicks her, he cleans Tugga off. And Tugga sucks him down and says, "Thank you, Izu, for that mighty tongue." And that's when I'm going to be leaving. I think part 5 of What If Deku Was Betrayed by UA. See you later. And on my videos, we got 20 views, and oh yeah, that make it seem like y'all want to see this, or it was either on the Naruto or this one. I think it was on this one, in one of those first and second episodes. And like and subscribe.